Charlie and I were just messing around in the storeroom and had quite an interesting idea, and obviously kind of another one of those pet hates of mine is when people do these tests, you know, they go, oh, I'm going to try out this Persimmon against this modern club or whatever, and there's definitely true, even more so with Persimmons, where there is such a big spread between the ones that work for an individual and the ones that don't. In my club rack I must have, I don't know, 60 or 70 Persimmon woods and then a few more at home. And they really are like kissing frogs, you know, you get them a bit harder to work on. I can work on them a bit, but it's a bit more drama to change shafts and things like that. So out of that 70 Persimmons or so that I've got, I've probably got about 3 or 4 that I would use on the course. And to be honest with you, if I'm using Persimmon, I'm using them because I love them and because I love the way they look and I love the way they feel, but they've still got to work. And given the choice with Persimmon, I'd usually play like a really stiff steel shaft at about 43 and a half inches, so quite a bit shorter and quite a bit heavier than a modern driver. But a few years back I picked up this one, and it's got Maxfli on it. It was a tour issue head, so this would have just been made by one of the great Persimmon club makers and had Maxfli put on it. But I think what's interesting about this club is that firstly it's gorgeous, it's perfect shape, it's a lovely colour, you know, everything about it. A certain friend of mine came in and toe-skied it, which was a real shame. What a chopper. Thinks he's a good player, but anyway. But what was interesting about this one is I think it must have been made right at the end of, you know, when there was a few players clinging on to playing Persimmon. And it's got a G Loomis graphite shaft, 70 gram X-Flex, but it is actually 44.5 inches, so it's pretty close to, you know, what woods are these days. And I just thought it would be interesting to try and get an idea of how much difference the head really makes. So for this test, what we're doing is I've got the TaylorMade R510. This is my old, I haven't used it for years, but I did use this for ages, and I love this driver. One of the best golf trips of my life with this driver. Used to be really good off the tee with it. I've just sort of, I prefer the Super Quad, the old 282 Super Quad now, which is a slightly bigger head, but only a couple of years newer than this. And I really do actually feel, you know, to put my cards on the table, that this is about 2004 through to about 2007 was like the peak of driver head design. Everything after that they were kind of doing, you know, they were on the limit distance-wise. They were kind of doing things just to justify a new model, like screws and adjustable hosels and all that sort of thing. I've also got my old Mizuno MP Craft 425, which is I've kept secret really because these heads are brilliant and they're not very much money, so I won't say too much about this. This one's a little bit longer, but I'll try and go down the grip a little bit, and I'll put a bit of lead tape on the head to cancel out of the way. Then I've got the modern beast, so this is the Maverick. I know it's not the most recent one, but if you really believe things have moved on that much in the last year, then that would be a significant jump given how much they've probably moved on in the last 15 years. And it's a tour issue head, it's the old triple diamond, it's 10.5 degree, these things are so low spinning, there's no spin, so I need a 10.5 just to keep it in the air. I can't say like I've done a massive amount of work to optimise this club. I know these ones are optimised, but again, these are all 70 gram graphite shafts and they're roughly the same length, and I'll try and cancel that out by holding them a different place on the grip. So you can see these two, so the Callaway is 45, the TaylorMade R510 would have been 44.75, the Mizuno is 45.25, but the Persimmon is 44.5, 44.75. So it's a really good test because they're all 70 gram graphite shafts. With my testing, I like to have everything exactly the same, which we haven't got here, but they're all the same swing weight, they're all a 75 gram graphite shaft, and they're all roughly the same length. And I'm not going to use the launch monitor for this test just because the sim's really good. Got Pro V1s and just thought I'd use the sim. So what should I start with, Charlie? Should I start with the
Persimmon.
Really? Okay. No, the Persimmon should be at the end. Numbers will come up at the top of the screen. Impossible to fake this. As we've noticed a few things online with people faking things. There's a left-handed guy who does quite a lot of equipment testing. Seems to hit it 330 every time, but I'm pretty sure it's only going 260. And he always says the new models go further than the old models as well. The most important thing for this test is the ball speed. It's really only ball speed. Do we gain ball speed? Shocking. Come on. So I'll call out the ball speed. Oh, let's go quite a long way. 157 ball speed. Hammer time! 158 ball speed. I haven't got the sim juiced up. This is real. That's like top of face, a little bit less ball speed probably, but higher launch angle, so it'll go alright. 280 yards, 157 ball speed. I've got it now, Charlie. That'll be about the same, 158 ball speed, I reckon. 160, Mahusiv. Right, so about 159 average on the 510. Love you, 510. Let's go straight into the Maverick now. So this is about as modern as it gets. It's got an Atmos, Fujikura Atmos, the most up-to-date Fujikura. So the reason I cannot use these heads, because I've stuck with the sort of mid-2000 stuff for such a long time, one of the things that really bothers me is that the heads, the trend has been to move towards something which looks big on the ground, because it's confidence inspiring. The moment you do that, the centre of gravity of the head is a long way from the shaft. So it really does give the head this sort of feeling, for me, feels flappy and slappy, and it doesn't feel, you know, when the smaller heads from the mid-2000s, and especially Persimmons, you kind of feel like the shaft goes straight to the sweet spot, whereas with these you feel like the sweet spot's over there somewhere. So I think what's happened is tour players and other players, they've kind of got used to these over the years, and I haven't, so I have to work quite hard to hit these. But in theory, you know, if all of the hype is true, and if all of these people online, what they're saying is true, you know, I don't know. So just the 510 alone, these are the same length. 510 alone, this has to be 5 miles an hour faster than the 510. And that's out of average, say 159 miles an hour ball speed with the 510, which is from 2004. I mean, in theory, this should go 400 yards if you believe the advertising, but anyway, I'm pretty sure that won't happen. I hate this club. Oh, I've overcompensated there, necked it. Forget that one. Also a little bit out the neck. That'd be about 157 ball speed. Now that's interesting because that was quite a long way out the neck, so that does show that the head is maybe quite forgiving. That one's a little bit at the bottom of the club. Amazing, I just only missed the middle on that one a couple of times. This one I'm missing the middle a lot. 159 at the bottom, that's quite good. Right, that one's out the middle. Pretty flush. .160. So one thing I would say, one of the things that's got better with the more modern heads, because the centre of gravity is further from the shaft, but it's also further back, and they've worked to keep the spin down at the same time. They are easier to kind of launch the ball higher, which does give you, generally speaking, a bit more carry distance. That's pretty good. $159. Okay. What was that? $156. What's wrong with this dog? What's going on with you? Hogan hates the modern kit, see love using the Maverick, he's absolutely freaking out. 157, 159, 160, you know, it's not, there's really nothing in between it. I mean, just so you know I'm not faking it, I'm gonna hit a couple now. Absolutely, I try to swing at like 80%. Yesterday I hurt myself a bit having not warmed up, so not swinging like, that's sort of how I want to swing on the Corso. So I'm just going to, if I don't kill myself doing it, try and hit on as hard as I possibly can. No. Out the neck. Ah! $160. So I don't know. Take from that what you will. I hit this. This is my Mizuno MP Craft with my. This is like, you know, this is my sort of backup driver, I guess, from my Super Quad. Super Quad's not here; it's at home, waiting to be taken out. But I love this driver. I love this shaft. This is really like totally optimised for me. $162 straight off the bat. So yeah, that's more to do with it's a 1/4 inch longer. It's a counterbalance shaft. It's like my shaft. That club couldn't be set up better for me. But anyway, now onto the Maxfli. Dog's gonna bark, isn't he? Might take me a minute just to. You see how the Mavericks was way more likely to hook on me. Don't know what the ball speed was on that one, Charlie. Mavericks so much more likely to hook, like all the other drivers. I've just been getting to fall down to the right, but the big head with the big slappy CG miles away from the shaft, way more likely to hook. Wow, cutting this one. Need to make a little adjustment. Is that what you're going to sit? 151 ball speed. These are not the best hits. 153. Ah! Be interested to see whether I would have got away with that with the Maverick. Oh, that's another crap hit. Should have done this first, Charlie. Fucking tired now. So, what should I start with, Charlie? Should I start with the
Persimmon.
Really? Okay. No, the Persimmon should be at the end. That's a bit better. 153. So, you know, I haven't hit this very well. I reckon a good one with this would probably be like 155. I must be able to hit one good one. Right, that's a good one. $153, pretty consistent. Oh good. What's up with you? $154. Necky one. Last one, Charlie. Out the top of the club. This really is the last one, Charlie. I'm sweating. The aircon even on. Ooh, bomb! That won't be that high on ball speed. Good flight though. 150. So, look, I can get 153 out of this. It's a little bit shorter. Love hitting this though. And so you've got a 7 miles an hour difference in the club head in ball speed over the last 30 years, which is probably a bit less than you might expect. Don't know really, maybe it is what you would expect. Anyway, that's what we found.